Holy smokes, Joe Biden just responded to the Supreme Court shutdown of student loan payments. Here's what it means for you, here's what it means for the stock market, and here's what he just said. So let's get started with what he just said after starting with what happened this morning. In short, this morning, the Supreme Court said that Joe Biden's plan to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt per federal student loan borrower, or up to $20,000 for certain Pell Grant recipients with lower incomes that met certain criteria, was quashed. So the Supreme Court quashed Joe Biden's plan to forgive student debt, which was a big campaign promise of his. So Joe Biden just spoke minutes ago, and he was explicit about this. Now's the perfect time to get in on Kevin's courses on building your wealth because he has a coupon code expiring tonight. Means if you join or email us at staff@meetkevin.com, you get the live streams, you get the old lectures, the new lectures, the future lectures. You get it all and access to me in the course member live streams. Check it out, link down below. So after Joe Biden was obviously talking about that, he went through and explained, we've got 12 months. 12 months that you could have to make your student loan payments, which honestly makes it seem like we're going straight back to the COVID days. Just don't make your payments. Now, what was really incredible about this new 12-month extension, which I'm going to break down in just a moment, it's worth remembering the stock market was having somewhat of a hernia about the potential impact that student loans and the return to making student loan payments was actually going to have on the economy. In fact, there were some estimates put together by Morgan Stanley that you could end up seeing somewhere around a $300 per month impact for each student with a student loan, a federal student loan, and we're talking nearly 50 million Americans. And these would not be your lowest income consumers usually because they'd have a degree, so presumably might be able to make more money. They wouldn't be your highest income consumers, so your maybe more expensive products like your Enphase or home-related goods or Teslas might be a little insulated. Your lower income, like the dollar store, might be more insulated. That middle ground discretionary was really where folks thought this would hit the biggest. Ulta, Lulu, Etsy, those sort of middle-of-the-ground stocks, Target, Costco memberships to some extent. Another $300 to $400 gone out of monthly disposable income at the same time as all this inflation we've had would be a pretty big hit. Now, that's important in America because remember, in America, the consumer makes up over 70% of the economy. So if the consumer slows down, or even just a portion of the consumer slows down, our GDP could get whacked in the face, and that's not good. So, what are the details of Joe Biden's plan? Well, basically he's saying, look, we're technically not delaying or extending this student loan forgiveness another 12 months. What we're doing is we're saying, make your payment. You need to start making your payment. That's what they're saying. But they won't charge you any late fees if you happen to be late. So that way you could slowly get used to the idea of making payments again, or do what probably most Americans are going to do and just not make the payment for 12 months. Now, you are going to owe interest on unpaid amounts over the next year. So what's a quick and dirty way to find out if that makes financial sense for me to delay making those payments for another year? Well, in my opinion, without getting complicated with amortization tables and spreadsheets and all that fancy, financial Wall Street suit kind of stuff, make your life really easy. Look at your latest student loan bill. It is going to have an amount you owe and interest. Now multiply those together. So let's say you owe $50,000 and the interest rate is 6%. That means you owe $3,000 per year in interest. That's the max amount of interest you owe per year in interest when you're not paying it off. Now, if you were to pay it off, how much are you actually going to pay off over the next year? Maybe $10,000? That would be making a pretty large payment, but let's just say you were paying off $10,000. If you decided not to make the payments for the next 12 months, you would be responsible, or you would basically owe an extra $600 for the license or the right to not make the payment for the next 12 months. So What's the easy, quick, and dirty formula for you to figure this out? Ideally, look at your statement, see what your interest rate is, see what your annual total interest expense is. Then, the correct thing to do is actually look at your principal paydown. How much of this loan are you really paying off every year? Add that together, multiply that by your interest rate. That number, as a fact check, should be way less than what the total interest is you're paying in a year, right? That lower number should be closer to the correct number of how much it would cost you, roughly. Big roundabout estimations to not make your student loan payments for another 12 months. And that extra interest would probably just be added to the back of the loan of the money that you owe back. Now, we don't have every single bit of details yet, but this is a 12-month ramp repayment program. Bills will, interest will still accrue. So technically you are supposed to make your payment. But if you can't, they're not reporting you to the credit bureaus. So they say, double check that. We went through this during COVID. Remember, they're like, oh yeah, they left a notation on your account. They didn't report you to the credit bureaus. They just left a notation. Oh, this is in forbearance. And then it tanked people's credit temporarily. So you never know. Obviously, talk to somebody about your own situation regarding this. You can contact the Federal Student Loan Office to find more details. I would probably give them a little bit of time to find out when this is actually official. We still don't have dates. Man is using a pretty obscure 1965 law to justify their authority to do this in the first place. So we'll see. But the one thing we know with certainty is there's a coupon code expiring. So check it out and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Now, I want you to know this. When it comes to AI, time is what's going to make you money. And if you can prove that value to an employer, you'll always be able to be employed. So this is another way of making sure that you don't get replaced